I refused to do my cousin's graduation makeup, and this left me homeless. Story time. After the death of my mother, my only surviving parent, I moved in with my uncle in the Copper Belt. He lived with his wife and his one daughter. They also had a son, but this son was the wife's child. When I got to my uncle's house, I was promised to go to school and I was promised that life would continue as usual, just like when I lived with my mother. This was my mother's young brother. But when I got to his house, the story was different. I wasn't taken to school. My female male cousin, whom I found at my uncle's place, his children, they went to school. They went to university, and for me, I was always left out. So I was told I couldn't go to school because there was no one to remain home and take care of the house chores. So as my friends went to school, I was home the whole time. I moved in with my uncle when I was about 15. I was supposed to be in grade 11 at this time. I ended my education in grade 11, so I never went to school after that. From the time that my mother died, I didn't go back to school. The reason I was given is that I had to stay home and take care of the house chores, that there was no one else to do them because my aunt was a working mom and my uncle also had a full-time job. I was left home alone and I had to make lunch for my cousins who were at school, and I had to take it to them during lunch hour, which was usually around 13, if my memory serves me right. It was at 13, I would have to take their lunch. I was basically the mini mom at home. It would click here and there that I'm missing out on school. Every time I brought it up with my uncle, my auntie would always tell my uncle that if I go to school, who would remain home and do the house chores? So my uncle always refrained from this conversation. As the days went on, I realized I was missing out on a lot of things in terms of my education, and I knew life here in Zambia is highly dependent on your level of education. Not always, but I knew if I was educated, life would be easier for me. So I chose to acquire a skill, but then I didn't have the money to pay for anything. So when I moved to the Copper Belt, I had met a friend who was my neighbor, and her mom was about to open a salon. But then she didn't have anyone she could be living there while she went for work. So this salon was just near her home. I told her if she can get me as her shopkeeper that she was looking for at the salon, I could stay there during the day after my house chores that I was instructed to do. I could stay there during the day and just take care of the shop generally for her. So this was the agreement. I was very nervous to tell my uncle about it, that I had found a job. But luckily he said it was fine as long as I have done all the house chores at home. So the deal was that I do all the house chores. Lunch hour, I need to make sure his kids have food. So what I started doing is I would wake up early in the morning before my cousins left for school. I would make sure I have already packed their lunch so that they would carry it. During the day, instead of just being home, I started going to the salon. So at the salon, the services that they provided was things like hairstyling, plating, and then eventually they had a makeup artist that came on board. And this is where my whole story began. Whilst at the salon, the makeup artist was a really sweet lady. So I would usually look at what she was doing. Same for hairstyling. I would look at what everyone was doing at the salon. My job wasn't to plait or anything. My job was to take care of my aunt's shop. So I used to call her my aunt, despite her being my friend's mom, because she was very good to me. So I eventually started calling her aunt, and that was the name that was embedded in me. So she became my auntie like that. So I would look at what the makeup artist was doing, what the hairstylist was doing, and eventually, when we got a lot of clients, I also started helping. Just like that, I was learning. Little by little, I was learning. So eventually, I became good at the craft as well. So I also became an active hairstylist. For me, I loved the hairstyling and the makeup. So I also became an assistant hairstylist for the official hairstylist, as well as an assistant makeup artist for the official makeup artist that we had in the shop. So as time went on, the salon began running losses because people were now diverting into social media, and my aunt didn't really incorporate social media because she was an elderly lady. And at that time on the Copper Belt, it wasn't really a thing to advertise businesses on social media. But as more saloons were coming on the scene, people started using social media. So she lost out on a lot of business. So it meant that I eventually lost my job. I was back to square one. But then this job was really helpful for me because it helped me buy small things like sanitary towels for myself, some clothes, Because at my uncle's place, they did the bare minimum for me. I appreciate what they did, but all they did for me was just to provide shelter, even before I had this job. When I lost my job, life became tough for me, because at this point, I saw my friends going to uni, people that I was supposed to graduate my senior secondary with. They graduated at this point and they were going to uni. So life became really hard for me. But luckily, I was a super active kid growing up. I had a lot of financial discipline, knowing where I was coming from. So I saved up some money. So from my savings, I started buying just some fake makeup products like Kiss Beauty products, green tea. I think at that time there was this green tea powder. I bought that. I bought some fake brushes. And I think at that point we had beauty blenders. I bought a few things and I started playing in makeup at home. I started playing in makeup and it would make me happy. It became my safe haven. So after doing the house chores at home, I would get bored and just sit and play in makeup. So eventually my craft started getting good. I would post my work on my Facebook, on my personal Facebook, because at that point I didn't even think I needed a page or anything. I didn't believe I was that good. So I would post my work on my personal Facebook, and from there, like, my friends would like the work. People would just, just comment good stuff, and those comments really kept me going. So I started thinking I could build a brand and a business around this idea. I started slowly building a business around my passion for makeup, and it was growing. I had friends coming over to do their makeup, but no one serious, no adults. So it was still jokes, but deep down I knew this is what I wanted to develop. So people would come, my friends would play like that, I would do their makeup with the few products that I had. I don't want to drag my uncles or my aunt or my cousins into this, but the treatment I received while I lived with them was bad, for lack of a better term, but I don't want to discuss much about it. So we'll keep it at that. But I was receiving no type of help except food, which was just the bare minimum food. Like, I would eat after everyone is done eating. I knew life could be better than that because I had lived with my mother and my life was definitely better than that. It was a big move for me. So I knew I had to develop a business. So fast forward to 4 years later, people start graduating. My friends are graduating, my cousins are graduating as well. Bear in mind that this cousin of mine, the female, we were around the same age. So the time she was graduating, I would have graduated at the same time. So you know how graduation goes. You get ready, you're doing your graduation preps, you're excited, you're buying clothes. And honestly, I understood being kept was enough. So I tried my best not to feel entitled to my uncle's help, especially in terms of like education, since it was clear he wasn't going to give it to me. So I tried my best not to feel entitled to that. So my cousin's graduation was coming up. She was preparing. She was very excited. I think they traveled to Lusaka once to look for an outfit because my uncle was actually doing very well. Her graduation became, obviously, your first daughter is graduating. So it became like the conversation in the house. So she prepares for her graduation, obviously you need someone to do your makeup and hair. So she books a salon. According to her, they don't take appointments. They do walk-ins. Though my cousin and I didn't talk much, but since her graduation was like the main discussion in the house, I knew what was going on. So according to her, where she wanted to get her hair and makeup done, they don't do appointments. They just do walk-ins. So at this point, I'm also like growing my craft. I have gotten a few clients. So some of my friends who are graduating at this point had booked me because my craft was getting fairly good, actually. So my friends had booked me, but the condition at home was if I get any clients, I didn't have to do their makeup inside the house. I always had to attend to my clients outside. I got bookings for that day of the graduation. This graduation was on a Friday. So I got bookings. My friends had booked. So I knew these are the only people that I was going to be working on. Everything is booked. We're waiting for graduation day. On graduation day, my cousin goes to her appointment where she's supposed to get her stuff done. And I also receive my clients at home. So we had a garage where I used to work from. So my clients sit in the garage and we start working. They come quite early because these graduations, they usually start like at 8. Yeah. So they come quite early. We start with their work. As a small makeup artist, this meant my day was fully booked. I hadn't yet developed that speed. So I was still very, very slow. Oh, I'm into my booking. My cousin shows up. Just a little backstory. In the morning, my cousin had left to go for her appointment because this appointment was very time sensitive since her graduation was early in the morning. So she had to show up for her graduation makeup very early so she could beat the queue. I think a few hours into my appointment, I still have, I think, about 3 more girls to work on. She shows up. Oh, I don't ask much because, I'm working. Neither does she say anything to me. So I see her go inside the house. She looks frustrated, but I don't pay much attention to it because I'm working again. A few minutes later, my aunt comes out and tells me, "Can you start with her makeup?" Bear in mind, I'm working on someone who's a paying client at this point. So I tell them, I'll start as soon as I'm done with her, because her, meaning the girl I'm working on. Because remember, these are paying clients. I just can't say, "Oh no, leave my chair," because now my cousin wants to do her makeup. So I told my aunt, "No, okay, give me a few minutes. Let me finish with these girls." I think I had 3 girls at that point. Let me finish with the 3. Then I can start with her makeup. So my aunt gets upset saying, "No, you can't finish with them. Can you start with her? Don't you see that your friend is running late?" So one of my friends answers on my behalf because they know how my aunt is. So my friend says, "No, Auntie, we've paid for this, so she has to work on us first." At this point, my aunt is very pissed off with me. My friend is also upset with my aunt because why do they want to take up their appointment? And they're also rushing. So tempers are really rising at this point. So a few minutes later, my aunt goes in and comes out. She's preceded by my uncle. I see my uncle and he tells me, "No, you have to do her makeup right now. She's rushing. She has to go for her graduation. Can't show her new reform no be miss a graduation." So I'm like, but then I can only do if she's going to pay. Let me finish up quickly with these guys. Nadam chita makeup yako. They just storm out because my friends are also saying, "We won't leave the chair. We have to get our makeup done. We booked her. You guys booked elsewhere. So you guys are the ones who are disappointed, not us." So they refuse to leave. I'm in a fix. So I start doing my friend's makeup and luckily I try to rush and I'm done. Though my cousin is late for her graduation, I still managed to do her makeup. I thought the day is done. I was actually not allowed to attend her graduation because again, I'm the person who remains at home to do all the house chores. People go for their graduation, they enjoy themselves. As usual, I was left home. So they enjoy themselves and when they are back, my uncle calls me to say he wants to talk to me. So I just realized that though my aunt was almost always upset with me all the time, but this day it was worse. And I knew it was from the earlier altercation that she had with my friends and partly me, though I didn't really answer anything bad, but she exchanged a few words with my friends and I also refused to stop doing my friends' makeup. So I'm suspecting this is the reason. So my uncle calls me in the sitting room. My cousin comes there as well. She's also not talking to me this day. Well, we never used to talk much, but this day was worse. She wasn't talking to me at all. When he calls me to the sitting room, he starts to tell me how I'm very wicked for not wanting their child to graduate. That's one. So I don't defend myself because I've gotten used to him shouting at me. I got used to it such that I wasn't responding. So he tells me I have a bad heart for not wanting my cousin to graduate. I was trying to ruin her day. Yeah, so I'm just listening in because you're talking about not wanting your daughter to graduate and I'm not even graduating at all. The little skill I have, you want to take away my clients like that. First of all, I'm not even allowed to have my clients in the house. I'm always forced to do my clients from outside. I do all face beats from outside. All my face beats. I can't connect my ring lights anywhere. Nothing. And at this point, I managed to save enough money to buy a few of these fancy things that I would need for my appointments. He tells me how I'm bad-hearted, I don't want her to graduate. And then he actually tells me we can't continue living with someone who's got bad intentions for us. So this is getting scary for me. Like, what do you mean I have bad intentions for people in the household that I live in? Not to defend myself, but I would appreciate the fact that they kept me when I had nowhere else to go. But them talking about all these bad intentions, it was weird for me. So I'm just listening. So he tells me, I think you've grown since now. Kali business yenu ile mpangile mpia yakwati mambo kufira kupenta abapanga and you can move out. So what he's basically saying is, since you're now making money and your business is flourishing such that you don't even want to attend to your own relatives' makeup, when you know she's running late for her graduation, please leave the house. Move out. I become very stranded. I'm very stranded. I'm young at this point. I have nowhere else to go. I knew a few friends in Osaka, the people that I had grown up with in my childhood as I lived there with my mom. But they're different personalities. They've moved on with their lives. So after chasing me out of the house, that night I asked my friend whose mom owned the salon if I could spend the night there. I spent the night there. These people were really good to me. The following day, I contacted my friend in Osaka because I thought it was just high time that I moved to Osaka and probably develop my own business. At this point, rumor had it that Osaka business was better, it was quicker, and you had more clients and you could charge more. So I chose to just move to Osaka. I asked my friend who I knew from way back when I used to live with my mom. I asked her if I can move in with her till I try to develop my business. So she says, yes, I can move in. That was a few months actually. My cousin contacts me, the cousin I used to live with when I was at my uncle's place. She contacts me and tells me she wants to come to Lusaka to look for internship. So I move in with my friend and we live there. We live well actually. I try to develop my skill. I open a Facebook page as was popular then. And I'm getting known, I'm getting some traction, I'm getting some clients, I'm developing my business. So my friends suggest that I don't necessarily have to move out, but I can start topping up on rent when I start making money. So, and for sure, I start making money, I start topping up on rent. So at this point, it's my house as well. I live well with my friend, and then from the time that I left my uncle's place until at that point, which was probably 9 months roughly, my cousin or my uncle have never contacted me. I tried to contact them a few times, but they would always tell me things like, oh, talk to me now, I'm busy, such stuff. So I assumed they just never wanted to talk to me because maybe they thought I wanted to go back home. A few months go by, my cousin texts me that she wants to come and apply for internship in Osaka. So I say, oh, okay. And then she makes a big request. She asks if she can come and stay with me. So, but then I still have that feeling in me where I felt I was treated badly. So I'm not very welcoming to her. So I asked her if she doesn't have anyone else she could ask because I'm staying with my friend and I don't know if my friend would be comfortable with her request. So I tell her, I'll respond to you later, let me talk to my friend. So I talked to my friend, and since she knows my cousin's background, like I explained to her everything when I was supposed to move in with her. She knows my cousin's background. So she says, no, I can't accept her here unless you're very comfortable with that. So I tell her, I'm not comfortable either, but I don't know what to do. So I tell my cousin that she can't move in with me. Like, I just go openly to her. Like, I don't want her to come here and then we start having some friction or anything, because at this point, my peace was more important than anything else. So I tell her, I just go straight to the point. I tell her she can't come stay here with me. And I forgot to mention that at this point, my uncle had retired on medical grounds. So the home situation where she was coming from, the house that I lived in, it wasn't so good. But I was doing fairly well for myself. So I tell her she can't come live with me because I'm not comfortable with it and I don't like how everything went when I used to live with them. I don't know if I'm wrong for saying no to living with my cousin after her family kept me when I was younger because of how they treated me. So I want you guys to tell me, was I wrong for declining my cousin's request? And then also, just a piece of advice to everyone. If you're going to keep someone's child who's not your own, your stepchild, your niece, your nephew, or anyone that is going to enter your home, if you don't feel comfortable enough with the fact that they're going to live with you, please don't accept them into your home. It's very bad when you start mistreating other people. You never know where people end up in life, and everyone has feelings. Imagine if you were treated like that. So if you have a partner that has a child and you feel you can't keep that child well, please do not even consider being with that person. Go to a person who doesn't have children so that you can live well with them.